Good morning, students. Today I am going to revise chapter number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in short. Alright? And chapter number 1 is the Indian Constitution, and topics in this chapter which you have revised. These are need of constitution in a country and key features of Indian Constitution and introduction, and also various key features of Indian Constitution and about the fundamental rights. So students, your first topic of this chapter is why does a country need a constitution? So students, as I told you in my previous explanation that a constitution helps serve as a set of rules and principles that all persons in a country can agree upon as the basis of the way in which they want the country to be governed. And the Constitution of India defines the nature of a country's political system. Alright? For example, Nepal's earlier constitution stated that the country was ruled by the king and his council of ministers. So students, the constitution often lays down rules that guard against the misuse of power by political leaders or anyone. For example, in our Indian Constitution, many laws made by our constitution maker for the protection of the common people with the help of fundamental rights. And students, in any democracy, constitution also ensures that a dominant group does not use its power against other less powerful people or groups. So the constitution helps to protect us against certain decisions that we might take that could have an adverse effect on the large principles that the country believes in. For example, it is possible that many people who live in a democracy might come to strongly feel that party or politics has been or has become so harsh that we need a strong dictator to set this right, however. But in the long run, dictatorship rule will be not fit for any country anyhow. After that, key features of Indian Constitution. So students, you are all very familiar about the rules and regulation related to the Indian Constitution. So students, due to the long experience of very dominative and oppressive rule under the British rule, state convinced Indians that free India should be a democracy in which everyone should be treated equally and be allowed to participate in government. Okay? And the Constituent Assembly was formed in 1946, which comprised of 300 members and who met periodically for the next 3 years to write India's constitution. And various things are kept in mind while drawing up constitution, as the country was made up of several different communities who spoke different languages and belonged to different religions and also had distinct cultures and society. Okay. Next point is various key features of Indian Constitution. So students, federalism, it means existence of more than one level of government in the country. And in India, there are three levels of government: center, state and Panchayati Raj. And the constitution defines the power of each government. And next point is parliamentary form of government. So students, Constitution of India guarantees universal adult suffrage. It means all the citizens of India have a direct role in electing their representatives or leaders. And every citizen of the country, irrespective of his her social background, can also contest in elections. After that, separation of powers. So students, according to the Constitution of India, there are three organs of the state: the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. So students, the legislature refer to our elected representative, and executive are a group of people who are responsible for implementing laws and running the government. And the judiciary refers to the system of courts in this country. And each organ check other acts as a check on the other organ of the state, which ensures the balance of power between all three. After that, next point, fundamental rights. So students, these rights protect citizens against the arbitrary and absolute exercise of power by the state. And these rights are given to individuals against the state as well as against other individuals. And the Constitution also guarantees the rights of minorities against the majority. Understood? And last one is secularism. So students, a secular state is one in which the state does not officially promote any one religion as the state religion. And especially India officially do not have any religion. Okay? After that, next point is directive principles of state policy. So students, this section ensure greater social and economic reform and serve as a guide to the independent India state to institute laws and policies that help reduce the poverty of the people. And last point of this chapter is the fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution. So students, fundamental right has given many opportunity to all the people of India, like right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and right to constitutional remedies. And student, please be careful here. You have to learn all the definition of fundamental rights. Alright? Understood? Okay. After that, students, chapter number 2, understanding secularism. In this chapter, the first point is related to the vision in the Indian Constitution. So students, the word secular was actually added to the preamble by the 42 amendment which came into force in 1976, and the term secular denotes threefold relationship between man, state and religion. And the word secular has not been defined under the constitution. So students, a secular state is one that protects all religious equally and does not uphold any religion as the state religion. Okay? So students, next point is objectives of the preamble. Number 1 is justice, number 2 is liberty, number 3 is equality, number 4 is fraternity. And students, you have to read about the justice, liberty and equality, fraternity in detail. Alright. Next topic is secularism got translated into a law. How? So students, secularism is a part of the fundamental law and basic structure of the Indian political system to secure to all its people and also to secure socio-economic needs and all the important points with the help of moral prosperity and political justice. And students, for Indians, secularism represents a true sense of synthesis of religion and compassion with the spirit of tolerance and universalism and freedom. Okay? After that, the idea of secularism, and in this topic you have to learn about the equal respect for the beliefs of a multi-faith society and non-interference of the government in religious affairs. And it is the best guarantee for the continuing unity of a country with extreme diversities. So students, this ideal got embedded in the Indian Constitution in the form of articles which provide the framework for the laws of the nation. Understood? After that, next topic is secularism as translated into fundamental rights. So student, as I told you in previous chapter that fundamental rights are protected and guaranteed by the Constitution. And the word fundamental suggests these rights are inviolable. And no organ of government can violate these rights. And the Indian judiciary has the power and the responsibility to protect these rights. And also to strengthen this ideal, the Indian Constitution provides the following fundamental rights to the citizens. Number 1 is right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and right to constitutional remedies. And students, here you have to remember that you have to prepare all the important points and definition related to all 6 fundamental rights. After that, next topic is fundamental rights as human rights. So students, right to work, opportunity, everyone to earn a livelihood by working in a country, and there will be no discrimination between upper, lower, middle, rich or poor, or anyone can do and can job in any part of the country. And after that, a right to safe and healthy working condition and fair wages that can provide a decent standard of living for worker and their families. Students, listen very carefully. All these rights also provided by the constitution to the people to do work anywhere safely. After that, a right to adequate standard of living, including adequate food, clothing and housing. And also right to social security and insurance, and right to health, medical care during illness, special care for women during childbirth and prevention of epidemics. And finally, a right to education. So students, free and compulsory primary education and equal access to higher education provided by our constitution to the people for the safeguard of the Indian people. Understood? After that, next topic is fundamental duties. So students, if our government provided us fundamental rights, so our constitution also provided us some fundamental duties also. Number one is to abide by the constitution and respect the national flag and national anthem. Number two, to cherish and follow the noble ideas which inspired our national struggle from freedom. Okay? After that, to protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India and to defend the country. Next is to promote the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India. After that, to preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture and to protect and improve the natural environment. After that, to develop the scientific temper and spirit of inquiry, and to safeguard public property. And last fundamental duty is to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity. After that, last topic related to chapter number 2 is right of the marginalized. So students, our Constitution of India is based on the principles that guided India's struggle against a colonial regime that consistently violated the civil, political, social, economic and cultural rights of the people of India. After that, the freedom struggle itself witnessed many movements for social reforms against oppressive social practice like sati, child marriage, untouchability, etc. So students, I think you are all familiar about all the explanation which I told you above. Okay? After that, our fundamental rights also focused on the rights of the individual. And in the mid-70s, a new human rights discourse based on group rights, collective rights and people's right began. And this was mainly aimed at making the marginalized groups aware of their rights and familiar them with the laws whatever made by the constitution maker to protect their rights and also for their upliftment. Okay. After that, chapter number 3 is why do we need a parliament? So students, as you know very well that parliament enables citizens of India to participate in the decision making and control the government, and making it the most important symbol of Indian democracy and a key feature of the constitution. So on the basis of chapter number 3, your first topic is why should people decide? So students, independence was long and difficult struggle, and they got inspired by the ideas of freedom, equality and participation in decision making. And student, I think you are all familiar about that. After that, under the colonial rule, the people did not criticize British government, but the freedom movement changed the entire situation, and the nationalists began to oppose the British government and make demands. So students, the constitution in independent India laid down the principle of universal adult franchise, in which all adult citizens above the 18 or 18 years age of the country have the right to vote. Okay. After that, next topic is people and their representatives. So students, a democracy is the idea of consent, that is the desire, approval and participation of people. Okay. And it is the decision of the people that creates a democratic government and decides about its functioning. So students, the basic idea in democracy is that the individual or the citizen is the most important person, and that in principle the government, as well as other public institutions, need to have the trust of these citizens. Okay. And the parliament, which is made up of all representatives together, controls and guides the government. So students, on the basis of above explanation, your next topic is the role of the parliament. So students, as I told you in my previous explanation that the Indian parliament is an expression of the faith that the people of India have in the principles of democracy. And the parliament in our system has immense powers because it is the representative of the people. And the Lok Sabha is elected once every 5 years. And the country is divided into a number of these constituencies, and each of these constituencies elect one person to the parliament. And students, I think you are familiar. Okay. After that, once elected, the candidates become MPs or members of parliament, and these MPs together make up the parliament. All right. After that, students, as you know very well that parliament has some responsibilities and perform the following functions. Number 1 is legislative function. So students, the parliament makes laws on all subjects listed in the union list, and it can also make laws on subject listed under the concurrent list. And students, you have to learn that what is under union, concurrent and state list. Okay. After that, in the case there is any conflict or overlapping in the provisions existing in the union and state enactment, the union law prevails. And in other cases, like when an emergency has been declared, the union parliament can also make laws on subjects that fall within the state list. After that, next topic is financial control. So students, union parliament has exclusive power to provide ways and means through which revenue has to be raised for public services. And to the end, it imposes taxes and also ensures that the money sanctioned for expenditure to various departments of the government has been spent for the authorized purposes. And providing and exercising control over cabinet. So students, our parliamentary system blends the legislative and the executive organs of the state in as much as the executive power is divided by a group of members of the legislature who command majority in the Lok Sabha. And also critical assessment of the work of the cabinet. So students, parliament provides the forum through which is ensured that the cabinet remains in power only as long as it commands majority support in the Lok Sabha, which comprises elected representatives of the people. And it is one of the most important functions of the parliament to bring about discussions and critical assessments of the performance of the government department. All right. And next topic is role of opposition. So students, the existence of opposition also ensures that the nation gets to know about the alternative points of view. And after that, an organ of information. So students, as I told you, Parliament is the most powerful organ. So for information about the functioning of the government is concerned. And the information provided in the both houses like Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha is authoritative, and ministers are bound to provide information on matters of government when so desired by members. After that, constitutional functions. So students, the power to amend the constitution rests with the parliament, and constitutional amendments have to be passed by each house by a majority of total membership as well as by 2/3 majority of members present in voting. And after that, judicial function. So my dear students, Parliament has the exclusive and very important powers to impeach the president, and also Parliament can remove judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts through a prescribed procedure. Okay? And elective functions. So students, elected members of Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha constitute the electoral college for the election of the vice president. and along with elected members of the state legislature, they form the electoral group for election to the office of the president. And the parliament can also by legislation create new states or make changes in existing boundaries of the state. All right. So students, in chapter number 4, understanding laws, you have to revise, do laws apply to all, rule of law, and how rule of the law established in India, and how do new laws come about, and unpopular and controversial laws. So topic number 1 is, do laws apply to all? So students, as you know very well that all persons in independent India are equal before the law, and the law cannot discriminate between persons on the basis of their religion, caste or gender. And students, any crime or violation of law has a specific punishment as well as process through which the guilt of the person has to be established. And the next point is rule of law. So students, rule of law means is that all laws apply equally to all citizens of the country and no one can be above the law. Understood? After that, next is how rule of law established in India. So students, it is often believed that it was the British colonialists who introduced the rule of law in India. And however, historians have disputed this claim because colonial British law was dictatorial or arbitrary, and Indian nationalists played a prominent role in the development of the legal sphere in British India. And students, nationalists wanted to change the idea of law from a set of rules that they were forced to obey to law as including ideas of justice. And finally, by the 19th century, the Indian legal profession began to use law to defend the legal rights of Indians. Okay? And Indian judges also began to play a greater role in making decisions. So students, in several ways, Indians played a major role in the evolution of the rule of law during the colonial period. And just after independence, the document and constitution made to serve as the foundation on which our representatives began making laws for the country. And every year, several new laws made as well as existing ones revised by elected representatives. Because students, you know very well that nowadays, due to the modernization, it is very necessary to change laws according to the constitution. After that, next topic is how do new laws come about. So students, the parliament has an important role in making laws, and there are many ways through which this takes place. And often different groups in society that raise the need for a particular law. And as the parliament is sensitive to people's problem. So, the process adopted for this issue to become law. Okay? After that, from establishing the need for a new law to its being passed, and at every stage of the process, the voice of the citizen through various medium such as TV, newspaper, etc. is a crucial element. After that, last point of this chapter is unpopular and controversial laws. So students, you know very well that sometimes a law can be constitutionally valid and hence legal, but it can continue to be unpopular and unacceptable to people because they feel that the intention behind it is unfair and harmful. Okay? And the people might criticize the law, hold public meetings and write about in newspapers, report to TV news channels, etc. And when a large number of people begin to feel that a wrong law has been passed, then the parliament has pressure to change the law. And after electing representatives, it is duty of citizens to keep a check on them. Understood? After that, chapter number 5 is the judiciary. So students, as I told you in my previous explanation in chapter number 5, that the Constitution of India secures justice to all its citizens apart from securing liberty, equality and promoting fraternity. And Indian democracy, the Supreme Court plays important role of safeguarding the fundamental rights of citizens, which includes providing fair justice also. Okay? So students, justice, as you know very well that, which is the soul of a democratic country or society, must be administered without fear or favor. Integrity and impartiality and intelligence are some of the important characteristics of the independent judiciary in a democratic setup. So, the judiciary plays a very important role in the functioning of Indian democracy. After that, next topic is what is the role of judiciary. So students, judiciary played a very important role to dispute resolution, and know very well that the judicial system provides a mechanism of courts for resolving disputes between citizens and between the citizens and the government, and also between the two state governments and the central and state government. And another role of judiciary is judicial review. So students, the judiciary has the power to strike down particular laws passed by the parliament if it believes that these are a violation of the basic structure of the constitution. Okay? And next is upholding the law and enforcing fundamental rights. So students, every citizens of India can approach the Supreme Court or the High Court if her fundamental rights have been violated. Okay. After that, next point is what is an independent judiciary. So students, as I told you that judiciary is the guardians of the constitution and defender of our fundamental rights. And for performance of this role, it is essential that the judiciary must be independent. Okay? And India has an independent judiciary that allows the court to play a central role in ensuring that there is no misuse of power by the legislature and the executive. Okay? And it is also plays a very important role in protecting the fundamental rights of citizens, and anyone can approach the courts if they believe that their rights have been violated by someone. Okay. Next one is what is the structure of courts in India. So students, you know very well that there are three different levels of courts in our country. Number one is district level or subordinate court. Number two is state level court, and number three is Supreme Court. So students, you have to read and learn in detail about the three level of courts of India. Okay. And students, in India we have an integrated judicial system. It means that the decisions made by higher courts are binding on the lower courts, as all these different levels of courts are connected to each other. And next topic is appellate system. So students, it means anyone or people of India who are citizens, they can appeal to a high court if they believe that the judgment passed by the lower court is not just. Okay. And next topic is what are the different branches of the legal system. So students, number one is civil law. And civil law deals with behavior, the constituents and injury to the people. For example, negligence resulting in injury or death. After that, next topic is, which is very important on the basis of India and difference between the rich and poor. That is, does everyone have access to the court? So student, as I told you, in principle, all citizens of India can access the courts in the country. And this implies that every citizen has a right to justice through the courts. And legal procedures involve a lot of money and paperwork which take up a lot of time. And student, as you know very well that often poor people avoid to go the court to get justice because they are poor and they cannot afford fees or expenses of the lawyer or any procedure. Okay. That's why the Supreme Court devised a mechanism of PIL. Very important. Listen very carefully. PIL means public interest litigation. So students, to increase access to justice for all the people of India, in 1980s, a law made by government that any individual or organization to file a PIL in the High Court or the Supreme Court on the behalf of those whose rights were being violated. Okay? And the legal process was simplified, and even a letter or telegram addressed to the Supreme Court or the High Court could be treated as PIL. And also, the court exercised a crucial role in interpreting the fundamental rights of citizens. Okay? So, students, as you know very well that the judiciary serves as a check on the powers of the executive and the legislature and protecting the fundamental rights of the citizens. So students, here revision of chapter number 5 is completed now, but student, you have to prepare all the question and answers whatever given from chapter number 5, and in chapter number 4, 3, 2, 1 you have to prepare it for your examination. And student, if you have any doubt related to any topic, then you can contact me. All right, thank you and have a nice day. Best of luck for your exam.